A quiet suburban street. My brother was just loading his truck when three men in fake police vests stormed in, shouting, shoving, and waving fake handcuffs. "Get on your knees. You're under HOA arrest," one yelled. Neighbors froze. Phones came out. My brother stayed calm, every muscle controlled, watching them with steady eyes. And then, from behind his truck, two massive military K9s stepped forward, growling low, perfectly poised. The fake cops froze. One whispered, "These aren't normal dogs." Everything changed in that moment. Drop your city in the comments. I want to see where this justice moment reaches. And if you believe fake power should never win over truth, hit like and subscribe to Better Tomorrow. My brother has always been calm, disciplined, and measured, a man who doesn't look for trouble. Years in the military taught him patience, focus, and the importance of staying in control, no matter the chaos around him. After retiring as a military K9 trainer, he finally bought a house in a quiet suburban neighborhood, hoping for peace after years of service. But peace wasn't something the HOA wanted him to have. From the very first day, the HOA president watched him like a threat. Random fines appeared on his door for things that made no sense. Warnings were left tucked under his mailbox. Then came demands for extra contributions to HOA fundraisers he had no interest in. Each interaction felt like a test, and the president wanted him to fail. That morning, everything seemed normal. He was loading tools into his truck, humming quietly, the sun shining on the street. Birds chirped. Neighbors waved as they left for work. The neighborhood looked peaceful. Until three men in dark vests marched up his driveway, badges glinting in the sun, voices loud and aggressive. Their steps screamed authority, their eyes carried intimidation. And in that instant, the quiet suburban morning was gone. The stage was set for a confrontation no one expected, and for my brother, years of training and discipline were about to be tested like never before. The three men didn't waste a second. They spread across the driveway, barking orders like this was a dangerous raid. "You're violating HOA rules. This truck cannot stay here," one shouted, stepping toward him. My brother remained calm. "It's in my driveway. Fully approved. No violation." But calm wasn't what they wanted. They wanted fear, submission. Another man stepped closer, tapping his vest as if it granted him power. "We've also received complaints about aggressive animals. We're here to check them." My brother's eyes narrowed. "You are not authorized to be on my property." That's when one of them lunged, shoving him backward. Another grabbed his wrist to snap on cheap plastic handcuffs. Neighbors peeked from windows. Phones were raised. Murmurs spread, "Those aren't real cops." The air felt electric. A small growl came from behind the truck. Two massive K9s stepped forward, disciplined, poised. The fake officers froze. Their confidence faltered. They were used to controlling situations, but now the control was shifting. Every step my brother had taken to remain calm and observant was about to pay off. The balance of power had begun to tilt. The first fake officer shouted again, stepping aggressively toward my brother. "You're resisting HOA enforcement. We can detain you for noncompliance." My brother didn't flinch. "HOA has no authority to arrest anyone. Step back." But the men ignored him. One shoved him against the truck. Another reached for the plastic handcuffs dangling from his vest. "Stop," my brother warned, voice calm but firm. "Do not touch me again." The first man laughed, a harsh, nervous sound. "You think we're afraid of you? Get on your knees." Neighbors were now gathering, some stepping onto their lawns with phones recording every second. Whispers of "these aren't real cops" floated through the street. One of the fake officers swung at my brother, trying to grab him by the arm. My brother twisted subtly, using his military training to stay safe, and stood his ground. His K9s, positioned behind the truck, growled low, warning the intruders. The men froze at the sound, tension snapping through the air. One officer glanced at the dogs and then back at my brother, hesitation breaking through his arrogance. "Call them off! Call them off!" But my brother didn't move a muscle. He simply observed, calm and calculated. The dog stepped slightly forward, perfectly controlled, not attacking, but ready. Another officer, panicked, grabbed for a spray that didn't exist. The Malinois advanced a single step, teeth bared just enough to stop him. Neighbors gasped. Phones zoomed in. Every move, every threat, every lie was being documented. The HOA president arrived at the edge of the street, arms crossed, yelling at his men to handle it. But his voice betrayed panic, and for the first time, it was clear his plan was unraveling. The fake officers, once brimming with false authority, were now trapped. The balance of power had completely shifted. The moment of truth was arriving, and they weren't ready. Just as the tension reached its peak, the unmistakable wail of sirens cut through the street. Red and blue lights flashed as real police vehicles rolled in, drawing a clear line between chaos and law. The fake HOA officers froze instantly. One dropped to his knees, fumbling with his vest. This is a misunderstanding," he stammered. Another reached for his radio, desperation in his eyes. The real officers stepped forward, inspecting badges, cuffs, and uniforms. Every piece was fake. Plastic handcuffs, forged IDs, counterfeit authority. The officers' faces hardened as they realized what they were dealing with. One of the police officers turned to my brother. Recognition flashed in his eyes. "Wait, you trained police K9S, didn't you?" My brother nodded calmly, voice steady. "Yes. These dogs know exactly who is a threat and who isn't." The fake officers panicked. They had assumed fear would control the situation, that arrogance and fake authority would bend him. But they hadn't counted on facing a man whose career revolved around discipline, obedience, and controlling dangerous dogs under extreme pressure. At that moment, the HOA president arrived, shouting over the commotion. His attempts to defend the men only exposed him further. Every neighbor watching could see the lies unraveling, every phone recording the humiliation in real time. The K9S remained perfectly still, disciplined, a silent warning that real authority cannot be faked. One of the fake officers whimpered, We didn't." A police officer cut him off. "You tried to intimidate a trained professional. That's illegal. Step aside." The balance of power had shifted completely. What had started as a display of false authority had become a spectacle of real control, real discipline, and undeniable justice. The neighbors, phones raised, whispered among themselves, "This is how lies crumble." In that quiet suburban street, the illusion of power was shattered. The moment had arrived. The fake HOA officers were cornered, their bravado gone, but they still tried to act tough. One reached into his vest, as if pulling a weapon, and the K9S reacted instantly, not attacking recklessly, but moving with precise, disciplined authority. The Belgian Malinois stepped forward, low growl vibrating through the driveway, ears pinned slightly back, eyes locked on the nearest threat. The German Shepherd mirrored him, flanking my brother, muscles coiled, every movement controlled. These were not ordinary dogs, they were trained to follow commands perfectly and protect without hesitation. The fake officers stumbled back, hands raised. "Call them off," one yelled, panic clear in his voice. My brother didn't move. He simply stood, calm and composed, his hands subtly signaling the dogs to maintain position, not strike. The neighbors watched, phones recording every 10th second. Whispers filled the street, "Those dogs are trained, real military dogs." The police officers moved in, securing the area and instructing the fake men to step aside. One officer turned to the HOA president, who had been screaming and gesturing wildly, "Did you authorize this?" The president froze, realizing his scheme had failed completely. It was just supposed to scare him," he stammered. One of the fake cops tried to make a last move toward the truck, but the Malinois stepped in with a subtle but unmistakable warning growl. He froze, realizing any further action would be catastrophic. The street was silent except for the dog's low growls and the murmurs of shocked neighbors. The illusion of power had completely collapsed. Finally, the police arrested the fake officers, confiscating their fake badges and handcuffs. Cameras captured everything, every threatening move, every failed intimidation, every moment the K9S controlled the situation without a single untrained attack. My brother finally relaxed, petting his dogs. The neighbors erupted in quiet applause. The lesson was clear: real discipline and truth cannot be overpowered by lies, intimidation, or fake authority. In that driveway, under the afternoon sun, justice had not just been served, it had been displayed. The power of truth, preparation, and unwavering control had won. The fake HOA officers were arrested for impersonation, harassment, attempted detainment, and trespassing. The HOA president faced backlash, both legal and from the community, for orchestrating the intimidation. Neighbors who had watched the entire ordeal applauded quietly, some still recording, as my brother calmly called off his K9S. Police officers praised his discipline. "Most dogs would have attacked in panic," one said. "Yours followed commands perfectly under extreme stress." The neighborhood breathed a collective sigh of relief. HOA rules were enforced fairly from then on, and the president was eventually removed. My brother knelt, petting his two loyal K9S. "They protect," he said softly, "but only when the threat refuses reason." The street had witnessed a simple truth: fake authority collapses in the face of real discipline. Lies, intimidation, and arrogance can never overpower courage, training, and justice. And on that quiet suburban street, justice had finally been served.